Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So here I have another one of my currently inked videos, and I have another 30 pens that are inked up. Now because of the amount of pens, I'm just not going to be able to go through and do a writing sample on all of these, but I will have some writing samples of another pen series video that will be coming up shortly that you'll be able to see, and that will have a much shorter or smaller amount of pens. There will be 10 that I will go through, and those are my top 10 pens for the month. So that video will be coming soon in the next few days, but in the meantime, here are my currently inked for this week. So from left to right, the first 10 pens are the Armando Simone Club Bologna Extra Wild Side, the Armando Simone Club Bologna Extra Arco Verde in a gold trim and a rhodium trim. I then have the Armando Simone Club Bologna Extra Arco Brown in a rose gold trim. I have the Omos Milord. I have the Omos Ogiva Cocktail, an Omos Paragon, again in the Arco Brown. I have another two Omos Paragons here in the Blue Royale and the Scarlet Red. And I have a Conway Stewart Series 100 Red Stardust. Now, I'll show you these pens in a little bit more detail. So here is the Armando Simone Club Bologna Extra Wild Side. It's a mammoth of a pen. It's quite a heavy pen, not the heaviest, but it's still quite heavy. It has a number 8 size nib, very wet nib, and I do love this nib and how it writes. It is a gorgeous nib. So for me, that is really lovely, and it writes quite wet. And I find this with most of these Armando Simone Club pens. They do have nibs that are they're more on the fine size of nibs, but they write quite wet, so they write more like a medium nib. And here again is the nib here on that Armando Simone Club there that you can see. So that is again a very wet writer. And then we also have the rhodium trim version here. Again, identical pen, but I couldn't really make up my mind what I wanted. Did I want it in a gold trim or rhodium? So I actually got both. And you'll see a video review of that coming up soon if I haven't already released it. And then we have the Arco Brown, which again I do love. This is a lovely pen as well, and I would ultimately love to pick up another one of these at some point. They aren't cheap pens, but it is a lovely pen. I do like the Arco Brown. I'm starting to like the Arco Verdes more than the Brown, but the Arco Brown just shines so much. And this has a rose gold trim on it, and you can see here there's a nib. It's again another fine nib that writes a little bit more like a medium nib, but I really do like this. So at the moment, these three Armando Simone Clubs are actually inked up with Ackerman, Bazud, and Woodgron. This one, the Arco Brown, is inked up with Ackerman SBRE Brown. I think that's a perfect colour for this pen. And then I broke with tradition here. I had a different ink colour for this pen. This is the Omos Milord Arco Brown. And again, such a stunning pen, the way that shines. This has a broad nib on it, and if I zoom in, you'll see that there, a broad nib. And as you can see there, the ink on that nib, that is a blue ink, so it's Franklin Christoph Spanish Blue, and this writes so wet that I really do love this ink in that pen, and I think that ink is going to be dedicated in that pen for as long as I can think of, because unless I find another brown ink that I really do love, maybe at some point I'll try SBRE brown in there, maybe even Diamond Chocolate Brown or something. But at the moment, I really do like the Franklin Christoph Spanish Blue. And then this Ogiva cocktail also has Franklin Christoph Spanish Blue in it as well, and this has the 52 degree nib on it. So this is a lovely, lovely nib, and it's called 52 degrees because that's basically how the nib was ground, at a 52 degree angle. And again, this writes more like a double to triple broad, almost like a felt tip marker. It's a lovely nib. I love writing with that. And I've written quite a bit with this in the last couple of weeks. And then I have some Omar's Paragons here. So I have an Arco Brown, and again, I love this Arco texture and the shine that goes on these. Now this is a broad nib, and I have this currently inked up with the Franklin Christoph Spanish Blue. But you'll see here that it's got quite a thinner section to it, but it doesn't bother me that much. And I do love this pen. So I have this inked up at the moment with Franklin Christoph Sweet Maroon, and that I do love. And these two Paragons I also have inked up with Spanish Blue and Sweet Maroon as well, because those inks I do like. I need to actually start looking at having different inks in these, but it's interesting to see how the inks sort of change in colour, and also because of the nib width as well. So this is the Omar's Paragon Blue Royale, and again it's a stunning like cracked ice effect pen, and this actually has a fine nib on it. So this is a little bit more finer than I would like, but I actually find it's quite useful in writing some letters. So I do like that nib. I had to smooth the nib out. It was a little bit toothy, and it writes a lot better. And then we have this again, Omar's Paragon, and this is a scarlet red version. And again, lovely cracked ice effect going on here. And this has a medium nib on it. And again, I do like how this writes. But it is more of a Western medium. But and again, that is inked up with Franklin Christoph Sweet Maroon. And then I have this Conway Stewart Series 100 Red Stardust, and look at this pen, how it just shines there. You can see there, and it has gold dust in the body. Such a stunning pen. And this is a pen that I do love. I got this with a broad nib. I have a number of Conway Stewarts. This is the Bespoke British Pens version, so it's a remake. And I have a number of Conway Stewarts here and in my collection, and I have medium nibs on them, and they're okay, but I wanted something a little bit broader, so I went for a broad nib on this one. And this is inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red, and again that is a lovely ink for that pen. So here we have the next 10 pens that I have inked up, currently inked at the moment. So left to right we have the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog, the Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Swirl, the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico, the Visconti Belgica, and then I have 4 Opera Masters here, and these are the Opera Master Golden Dust from Visconti. We have the Blue Swirl, or Proto. We have the Crimson Tide, we have the Goulet exclusive Luna, actually we have 5 actually here, we have the River Thames as well, and then we have the Visconti Camelot. So I'll show you these in a little bit more detail here. This is a London swirl, and has a lovely, lovely pattern on. You don't quite see the pattern as much once it's inked up. That's the only downside about the London fog. Now, this came originally with a medium nib. Actually, sorry, a fine nib. But I swapped it out for a 1.3mm stub, and I do love this nib. It's a bouncy 23 karat palladium nib, and it writes gorgeously. And I have the bronze swirl, and again, this I actually bought with a 1.3mm stub nib, and again, it's quite bouncy, and I do love this nib. But you can see here the bronze swirl going on here through the body. It's a lovely, lovely pen, and again, that's the 23 karat palladium nib going on there. And I then have the so these are actually inked up with Diamine Earl Grey in the London Fog, Robert Oster Cafe Crema in the Bronze Swirl, and then the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico is inked up with Visconti Bordeaux. And again, you see this is a lovely pen. It's the cap, the filling knob, and the section is all made of solid silver, AG925, and then the body is made up of a solid block of marble. So Visconti Bordeaux is the ink that actually comes with this pen, and you can see there the nib. It's a medium nib, and again that writes really nicely. I do like how wet that writes. I have the Visconti Belgica, which is a gorgeous pen, really commemorating Belgium as a country and coming of age. It's a lovely, lovely pen, and with this gold overlay, you can see here. So you have the crown here. You have like the lion crests going on here. It's just a beautiful pen, and this comes with an 18 karat gold nib. You can see there. And again, this is a broad nib, and I do love how this writes. Again, it's quite a bouncy nib. Now, I have this inked up currently with Ackerman Cerulean Blur. I find this is one of the pens where I don't match the ink colour to the pen. I could put a black ink in there, but I don't do black normally. I could put the gold ink in there, but I think, to be honest, I really do like that ink, and it matches well with the pen and writes. It's a very wet writer. And then I have these Opera Masters. So this is the Opera Master Golden Dust, and it's a lovely, lovely pen. You can see there the golden dust in the body and in the cap. And this comes with a fine nib. I have actually swapped the nib out and put a different fine nib in there, a slightly more bouncy, springy nib. But you can see there that it is a fine nib. But I do find that nib writes very well. So I do like that pen. And that is inked up with, at the moment, Ackerman SBRE Brown, because that's a brown that I really do like. And is I think impossible to get anymore. I think now they have sold I think there was the original batch that came in small Diamine 30ml bottles. Then there was the Ackerman version that came in the Dutch Master at 120ml bottles, and I managed to get the last bottle in the first batch and the last 2 bottles in the second batch, and now it's completely sold out. It may come back at some point, but I think it's been 8 months so far, and it really hasn't come back yet. And then I have the Opera Master, and this is the Blue Swirls Proto, and I could put a blue ink in here, but I find that this red ink, and this is Pilot Roshizuku Mamiji, because it has a sheen going on. I find that this ink actually looks quite nice in this colour barrel, and it comes, although this comes with a medium nib, and again, it's a 23 carat palladium, like most of these Opera Masters are. But it's a very wet medium, and it's quite bouncy and springy. So this is a pen that I do love writing with, and I've not had inked up for a while, so I decided to re-ink that one back up and write with it. And then we have one of my favourites, which is the Visconti Opera Master Crimson Tides, and this comes with a 1.3mm stub, and the ink that I have in here, the ink that I first inked up and I have not changed ever since, is the Diamine Wild Strawberry. And I find this is such a gorgeous ink, gorgeous red ink. I like Wild Strawberry from Diamine, and I like Poppy Red. So that's the Crimson Tide. And then I have the Goulet exclusive, which is the Opera Master Luna. That comes with a bottle of Visconti blue ink, and this again is permanently inked up. I really do love this pen. There's a couple of pens I've been thinking about buying a second one of. The Luna's one of them. The River Thames is another. I don't need to, though. As much as I would love to, I always think it's, in a lot of cases, it's a bit of a waste, unless you're going to get a different nib width with it. But I can swap these nibs out on the Viscontis anyway. So, but this material is absolutely stunning. And this one I bought from Goulet with a 1.3mm stub, and I really do like these stub nibs. It's a 23 carat palladium nib. And then the River Thames, here is the Chatterley Luxuries exclusive, and again, I do love this material. It's basically from the same material as the London Fog cap there. A little bit of variation going on, but you can see there it looks very similar. And I do love this. I bought this in a 1.3mm stub. I do love my stubs, and this is a really lovely stub. It's a little bit more on the crisp side of a stub. You can see if I can get this to focus a little bit more. Come on. No, it's not going to focus. There you go. So you can see that it's actually quite a stubby nib going on there. More crisp stub than anything. But this material is absolutely gorgeous, and I do like this. Now, I have that inked up with, I believe, Mont Blanc Lavender Purple, and I've written with this probably a couple of weeks ago. Was the last time that I wrote with that one. And then I have the Visconti Camelot, and the Camelot is again a lovely pen. I really want to get Mont Blanc Oyster Grey back in this pen, but I already have, I think, 4 other pens inked up with that ink. So, and I do love the Oyster Grey ink, and it writes beautifully in this pen. But I have Mont Blanc Lavender Purple inked up in this pen at the moment, and I do like how that looks as well. So this is a lovely nib, and I'll show you here. Let me get that to focus a little bit better. There you go. But it is a lovely nib, and I do like this a lot. It's a medium nib, and it is an 18 karat gold nib, and it's quite bouncy, quite springy, and again, this is a nib that I do love to write with. And now on to the final 10 pens. So this is the full 30 pens that I have inked up at the moment. So from left to right, we have the Visconti Luxor. We have the Visconti Opera Silver Dust, the Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Age Lava, and then we have the Evolution, And then we have the Visconti Homo sapiens Corsani 90. We have the octagonal. We have the Wall Street. We have the watermark. And then we have classic pens LM1 and LB5. So a close look at these pens. So this is the Visconti Luxor, and this is a lovely pen. So it's made out of red ebonite, and then it has this lovely maquillé sort of painting going on with Egyptian hieroglyphs, and it really is lovely in it. And then it has I think 4 lacquers of lacquer on top of that to protect it. It really it symbolizes the obelisk, and you have the Ra logo here etched in gold. It's a lovely, stunning pen. Has an ink window on it as well. This comes with a 23 carat palladium nib. I kind of wish it had come with an 18 carat gold nib, but this nib is quite bouncy, so I do love this nib. I just wish it could have come maybe with an 18 carat gold nib instead. But it's a lovely pen now. I have this inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Kon Peki. And then we have the Visconti Opera Silver Dust, and this is a lovely, stunning pen here. It has this like silver dust pattern swirl going throughout. Now it's a little bit lighter and thinner than the Homo sapiens, like the London Fog, Florentine Hills, and it does have a hook safe lock on it as well. This one, it comes in two models, one with the nib with the 23 carat palladium nib. Let's see if I can get that to focus a bit better. And then one with a CR18 nib. So this one for me, I find I like the 23 carat palladium nib more than the CR18. So for me, that is a nib I like, and I have that inked up with Mont Blanc Oyster Grey. And then I have the Homo sapiens Lava Edition Bronze Age, and this material is a lovely material. It's actually quite porous, but you can see here it's quite rough in texture, but it does feel fairly smooth to the touch. Now this comes with a 23 carat palladium nib, and this is a fine nib. And I don't normally do fine nibs, but I find that this is a really lovely nib, and again quite bouncy. So I do like this nib. Now I have this inked up with Mont Blanc Toffee Brown. And I have the Evolution, which is really the new version of the Bronze Age. And this has this lovely etching swirl on the cap here and the filling knob and also the section. But you'll also notice here it comes with a different nib. Now this is a stub nib, and this is the new skeleton nib. It's a steel nib from Visconti, but it's a lovely nib. I have this one pen inked up at the moment with Pilot Iroshizuku Kon Peki. And then I have a few stacked celluloids in my collection. I have more than this actually, but these are the 3 that I actually have inked up at the moment. So I have the Visconti Homo sapiens Corsani 90. Now unfortunately this is long sold out, and it doesn't normally appear on the used market either. But this is a lovely pen. Now I bought this with a medium nib initially from Stefano at Stilograph Corsani in Rome. But I have since swapped it out for a lovely 1.3mm stub nib. Now this stub nib is very bouncy. The medium nib also was pretty bouncy as well, but I had a little bit of baby's bottom going on the medium nib, so I decided in the end that I would swap it out for a stub nib, and I prefer the stub nib in this at the moment. And then I have the second version from Corsani, from Stefano, Steel Roth Corsani, and this is the octagonal. And the octagonal is again a lovely stacked celluloid pen. I got this with a broad nib on. I think I think when I was ordering it from Stefano, he said he didn't have a stub nib. So I went with a broad nib, and I do like it. It's a very, very broad nib, but I do love this pen. It's a little bit on the crisp side of broad. So in the Corsani 90, I have Diamine Majestic Purple inked up, and then in the octagonal, I have I believe it's Diamine Aquamarine inked up. And then the Wall Street I have here, again another stacked celluloid. Beautiful, beautiful pen. And I have this in a 1.3mm stub. You see there again, very wet, very juicy nib. And you see that is now, I have written that out of ink. It is pretty empty at that point. And that also had Diamine Aquamarine, so I'm going to actually re-ink that with probably chocolate brown, I think, from Diamine. And then I have the Visconti watermark, and this is inked up with it's an orange ink. It's Pilot Roshizuku Yuyaki. This is an ink that I really do love. So I love that ink in this pen. Now this is a solid silver pen with a 23 karat palladium coating on it. The nib itself is a medium nib, so it is quite a lovely nib. Again, very bouncy, and this is something that I do like about these palladium nibs, is that they tend to be more bouncy than anything. You can sometimes get some stiff nibs, and that is part of the course, unfortunately, or stiffer nibs, I should say. But I do love that pen, and I don't write with orange inks as much as I used to a year ago. Maybe that will change over time again, and I'll come back. Orange will come back into my rotation more. And I have the Classic Pens LM1, and this is the Flame Red edition. And again, this is a diffusion bonded acrylic, and it's a lovely pen. Now this comes with a Bock 18 karat gold medium nib, and I would say that this nib writes a little bit more towards a fine nib, but I do find it's a nice nib. It's a little bit stiff. There's not a lot of bounce compared to, say, the LB5. The LB5 here is the Sailor King of Pen nib, and this is the Kaoseki finish. Again, diffusion bonded acrylic, and that pen is absolutely gorgeous. And if I show you here, it is a Sailor King of Pen nib, so effectively like a size 8 or 9 nib. I can get that to focus a bit more. And you'll see here, there you go, like that nib is very, very fine. And this is a medium, so this is more like a Western fine. This is a 21 karat nib, not an 18 karat nib, and that's typically what Sailor do on most of their nibs. They do 21 karat nibs, and that again is a gorgeous, gorgeous pen. So there you are. That's 30 pens that I have currently inked at the moment. It's too many pens that are inked, but I cannot get below 20 pens inked up, and I tend to hover around 30 or 40. I do need some kind of intervention to reduce the inked up pens, but I prefer more pens inked up than uninked. It gives me more of a selection of pens, of nibs, of ink colours that I can write with, and I could just pick up a pen and write with it without having to go through the rigmarole of inking a pen up, and it's just so much quicker that way. Plus, I like to take a lot of pens to my various pen clubs that I go to, and I always try to take them all inked up if I can. So it kind of works out better that way for me. So that's really the 30 pens that I have currently inked at the moment. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.